It's in the book. It's in a video about Al lighting the firewood.
Hi.
Oh,
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm okay. It was really funny. I filmed the vampire book with the picture of the vampire.
John's upstairs. I'm down in the kitchen. He figured out some way to hoodwink my phone.
Hi.
So, John, when we hang up, will you be able to listen to every phone call I make? Will you able to totally hijack my phone?
No. This is a live YouTube video.
So it's just for this one event.
Yeah, this is a live YouTube video. If you don't want to film it, we can turn it off.
No. I mean, but from this, I mean, when we do turn it off, that's it, right? You're no longer connected to my phone.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't do something crazy.
Okay.
It doesn't connect to YouTube accounts or something.
Okay.
It don't, except for this one video.
So this is like doing a Zoom.
Maybe, I guess.
Can you get more than just you and me? Can we put lots of other people on?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Get a bunch of people. This hair is crazy.
That's kind of cool. Anyway, so you enjoyed dinner, and your apartment up there is warm with the fire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So see, the wood is cheaper than the electricity. That's for sure.
Yeah. The wood is way cheaper than the electricity.
Yeah.
Well, cheaper, way cheaper.
Yep.
Way cheaper.
Way cheaper.
But the way Alex was like, I got the feeling like he thought, why are you burning so much firewood? What a waster. You waste wood. Or something like that. I'm like, I had to get it just right, so I ended up just putting heat on anyway and turning it and not even using the firewood.
Right. Well, the firewood is, like I said, well, so when I made the fire downstairs, right, and heated here up very nicely, and, 2 hours went by, and the 4 logs I put in the wood stove kind of burned down. But there were enough, coals there to heat up the logs. I put 2 more logs on, and, so that's all you do. You don't just keep feeding wood in there. You let it burn down, and then you put a couple on the coals, and then it comes right back and makes it toasty, and that's the way you can have what's going on. Hey Ed, how you doing? I'm over at John's school, and John is doing a live chat on his channel, and I am a guest on my cell phone. And my other device I'm using to do a Dreamy Dreamland live stream. So John's doing a live stream with me as a guest. So that's what it is, right? So it's on your channel, and I'm a guest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm got my other device bubbling away, and and there's John right there, and there's me, and that's kind of what it is. So, well, that's fun. I got worried. Well, here at the school, there are 2 really nice wood stoves. And if you get them working well, they will heat the whole school without having to use the heat pump or electric heaters or any of the above. So That was the talk of, and I've been using those wood stoves for years, and there is a knack to it where you don't use a lot of wood, but you use just enough because that whole wall that the wood stoves are on is a big stone concrete wall, and you heat that sucker up, and it heats the whole place up. So that's the story.
That's a miracle.
Yeah.
We have plenty of wood.
Yeah, we have plenty of wood. So that's the story. And the winters, I would say, praise Jesus. The winter isn't going to be any more worse than it is right today. 30 at night, 60 during the day. I can live with that. This Christmas Eve, it was 60 below zero in the deep green. In the man cave, it was minus 18, and that was a little nippy. And I don't have a wood stove there. What I have is an electric blanket, which works really good. You wrap yourself up the blanket, and it uses very little electricity, but it keeps you really, really toasty. I was sleeping at another friend of mine's in Asheville last night, and I was down in his basement, and it was like 40 down there, and but under my electric blanket it was 80. So that's kind of how it works. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the electric blanket.
Go, Congo.
What was that? So, hey, John, why don't you give us a rendition of... how about the Hispanic guy? So John was talking as a Chicano Native American, and he was doing that. Do the Chicano Native American. You were doing a really great rendition.
Big man. Boom, 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 boom. Everywhere he go. I don't know. You say, you don't know, keep them on, go be, not, That's why. See, that's why. I do to myself, I chop like this. Why do I chop myself? This is a massage. See? Contigo. Don't hurt me. I go sleep. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Go sleep.
Go to sleep.
Bye.
Bye.
Praise God. Praise Jesus. Praise God. Praise Jesus.
Yep. Get out of here.
What's on your mind today? Like, I want to change, but I'm not particularly open to make those changes. I'm trying.
Every time.
Well, gang, how you doing? Here's your X-ray brother. I made John a really nice dinner. Chicken Florentine with broccoli and broccoli, ricotta cheese raviolis and chicken and tomato sauce and onions and garlic. So that's what I made for John for dinner. And we'll have this tomorrow for breakfast with eggs. And then we'll have a soup. And that will be the end of it. And that's how I cook. A one-pot chef. I brought that pot with me. And so this is a downstairs kitchen, right? And so I turned up all the heat, and right now it's 62. It's about 35 outside, 62 here, just with the wood stove. And I kind of banked it up so it'll stay warm for at least another 2 hours or so, and then slowly it'll get into the 50s. So this is one of John's paintings. I mean, you know, he's got a thing going on, you know. So here's a very strange. George had a strange idea. So this is a fireplace, but it has no flue, you know, and it's you know, I don't know. It's like starting a fire on your floor or something, you know. It's like. Anyway, it was a nice little show we had this morning. That was very nice, and you know, there's everybody, and so there I am. I don't know what kind of. There we go. I'll put my little hoodie up. Go outside for a sec. Oh. So it's about 35 out here. And about 62 inside here. Anyway. Oh yes. Where'd I go? Let's see, what were we doing? I just want to grab this little guy. Oops, do the fuse. This is down in the grotto. That's Roanoke down below. I mean, this house really does. It's kind of amazing. Yeah. Oh, there's a fire. It's Roanoke down below. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sal Bob. And I don't know my glasses. I got worried. Okay. And there's the wood. There's the fire. And it has a nice little fan sucked in the wood. And there's a chamber in the back. It gets really toasty and it blows out that piece of dryer hose. And it's blowing right on me. So it's kind of nice between that fire and that hose. So this place, you know, it's not that, this is a nice place. This is another place you could survive. Even without electricity, you could survive here relatively easily. And I would say we are going to be without electricity relatively soon. That's our installation, our grid is, 1960s technology. Bill Clinton basically deregulated. I mean, our utilities, gas, water, electricity, septic, all were what was known as public utilities, meaning it was owned by the people. And Bill Clinton sold it all over to Mr. Rothschild, right? Mr. Rothschild is the major owner of stock of all public utilities. And so there you go. And he is, in the last 50 years, has done nothing to upgrade anything, right? And so we're looking at some pretty interesting moments about to arrive. And when you look at, the war in Ukraine, it's, no one wants to, I constantly say it's a scripted show because it's the war of the two Vlads, right? One's a stand-up comedian, one is a bagman, right? And they are not there really to serve their people, right? They are serve people who put them in power. And Vlad has been in power for 20 years, since 99. So when the collapse of the Soviet Union happened, Russia's infrastructure just collapsed, right? And all of their oil wells, especially the ones up in the permafrost, all just seized up. And in the, from 93 on, all of the public assets that were owned by the state, Communist Party, were basically sold to the oligarchs, and the oligarchs were given money by the hidden hand and guys like Mr. Rothschild, right? And Mr. Rockefeller. And the whole oil system from 93 on was rebuilt by the Koch brothers and Dick Cheney of Halliburton, right? And so they got a really nice system there, and was all there to, it brought all of the, and what's really interesting about natural gas is free to the oil companies, because when they drill an oil well, what comes out other than the oil is also natural gas. And up until, the first 30 years of oil well drilling, they just burned that gas off, right? They didn't really because, gas, oil, you can put it in a bucket, and they used to, and, you can, put it in tankers, and that's how Rockefeller, got control of oil. He didn't own the oil wells. He owned the railroad. He didn't even own the railroad. He owned the tanker railroad cars that transported the oil. And that's what gave him control over oil. So it's quite interesting where we are right now, because, Nikola Tesla, discovered free energy. But so did Ben Franklin, and so did Euripides, and so did, Mr. Geometry, Mr. What do you call it? That guy. It was all about the proofs. So this is one of the more interesting times in history, between the last time we went through something like this. It's like when we, over a snap of the fingers, we went from the Roman Empire to the Holy Roman Empire. We went from the political leadership being pagans and believing in Roman gods to, God and Jesus. So, and that's the difference between religion and theology. The ology thing, the psychology, the sociology, there is ologies are like, the Latin verb for study of, right? And so theology is the study of love's co-creation. Theology is the study of the creative force, the prana, right? And God and Jesus, but God and Jesus that have always been here, they are a unknowable force. But the God and Jesus in the Old and New Testament are more or less a advertising gimmick for power and control and money. And this year, 2023, is going to be a very interesting year. I mean, just look back, to 1999. When, oh my God, Y2K, oh, we're all going to die, ah. In 1963, no, 64, I was in freshman class at Canterbury, where I was in a Catholic seminary to be a Catholic priest. I was going to be a rocket scientist for the Pope. My godfather, Cardinal Cushing, he that was his. I was everybody's Gumby, And so I was put in this class, and it was computer science, right? And our teacher was a monk, he wasn't a Jesuit, he wasn't a Franciscan, he was, what was he? He wasn't a Maryknoll, but he was another scholarly branch of monkdom. And he wasn't a priest, he was a monk, right? Which is way different, right? So, and he was, during World War II, he was in England at Fletchley Park with Turing, and they were buds. And he knew Turing at Oxford when Turing wrote his seminal thesis called The Golem. And Turing basically put forth the whole motif of the digital world and transhumanism, that everyone would be in the Matrix. And he wrote that in 1923. I mean, he wrote it in 1916, right? And but it was published in 23. And there was another one after that was even more interesting. I forget its name. But go look up those two books that Turing wrote in the 20s, and or published in the 20s, because he wrote them during World War I, and he was experiencing the horror of industrial war, because all the other wars before World War I mean, Civil War was an industrial war. The Spanish-American War was an industrial war, and England, for 300 years, because of their ability to organize, bureaucratically, institutionally, they took over China, India, Africa, a little island with about no more than, 1 million or so folk, took over 3/4 of the world. I mean, they ran India for 150 years with 30,000 people, right? And now India now is the most populous nation, right? Not China anymore. And China's going down the toilet. I mean, it already is, because Xi spent a good 20 years killing off all his anybody around him. And so, it was really interesting why we beat the crap out of Russia using Ukraine as our surrogate, was that we knew everything. We had every phone call, every email, everything that Putin and his inner circle were saying to each other. So we knew exactly what they were going to do, when they were going to, the time to that's why Stepford Biden, 2 months, Russia's going to invade Russia, and everyone's, what are you talking about? It's not going to happen, But he knew, because, the NSA was listening in. and their version of the NSA knew that we were listening in, right? And so, and we're still listening in, so we know exactly what they're doing. That's why I'm saying that this thing is a scripted, soap opera. And basically, Mr. Globaloni wants to take out Russia, China, United States, EU, and pretty much everybody else. And America is somewhat, say when I say take out, we're going to be rebranded. We are no longer going to be the police of the world, right? Because we did that for the last 30 years to facilitate globalization, right? Well, we've done that, and that was done so as we were to deconstruct all these national states. Because now, in the last 30 years, like China is the poster boy of this. China, in the next 6 months, I mean, they've been watching what Russia did with Ukraine and realized they can't invade Taiwan, There's only 6 beaches they can land on. Taiwan is a volcanic rock. They have, Ukraine has been preparing for this war for the last 8 years. Taiwan has been preparing this war for the last 75 years, right? So they have underground tunnels that they have got all of their industry underground. They basically did what the Nazis did, right? The Nazis were producing more war armaments at the end of World War II than they did at the beginning, right? All of their factories were under, the U.S. Air Force was bombing the crap out of Germany. All it was doing was killing the innocent citizens, right? The German folk. And the people in the death camps and work camps, they didn't get bombed. We didn't bomb those. But underneath them was where Germany had its factories. That's where they were knocking out tanks and Me-109s and, Me-262s and Leopard tanks and V1s and V2s and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? The Hornings flying wings. The aircraft that guy out there in the West in 1948 or so, and he said, "Oh, it's a flying saucer." No, he didn't call it a saucer. He said they were half moons. With the Hornings brothers H-10s, right? Flying wings, right? I mean, so, 1947, FDR was president for 4 terms, 16 years. He didn't live through the last term. And he had a really interesting vice president, handsome, really brilliant, part of the mystery schools. And this guy was going to turn America into the most amazing place. And 2 weeks before the election, they took him out. This guy had been vice president for 3 terms, right? Everyone liked him. He's handsome, good looking. I mean, FDR couldn't get around. He had polio. So this guy was the can-do guy. And then a couple of weeks before the election, Harry Truman gets put in as vice president. FDR wins because the war is still going on, but Germany is about to fold, and Japan is burnt to a crisp. So it's pretty obviously what's going on. But still, we are dumping weapons all over the frickin' world, especially in the Far East. And we were locating them in Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Korea. And that's why those wars occurred, because we dumped so many weapons that everyone had a tank, had a howitzer, had a, AK-47 and, whatever. And because, as, what's his name, Orwell says, war is peace, for the oligarch, And so we're going to see that go like you can't believe. And the thing about 19 is, it kills people, but, people who have comorbidity, people who are old, who have heart disease, who have diabetes, guys like me. And the rare, and yes, there were a lot of people who were in their 30s, 40s who died, who again had heart disease and diabetes and other things because America's obese, and so a lot of those folks died. And but we didn't need to close the schools. We didn't need to close our corporations. We didn't need to kill our supply chain, but we did it on purpose because we dumped a ton of money into people. We gave everyone a check, right? And that's why we have, they printed more money under Donald Trump and really more money under Stepford Biden. That's a dark journalist. He coined that phrase, and it's interesting how they go after Carrot Head for him taking home top secret things, but our government classifies 1 million documents a day as top secret, and what they're calling top secret is shit that that people in Congress don't want their constituency know that they are stealing, right? So they make it top secret. It's not stuff they're keeping from our enemies, but our enemies aren't even our enemies. They're the loyal opposition, right? So that's what's going on, right? And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. That's me. And I'm here at the school that I call the Hill, because this hill is super duper spiritual. God and Jesus definitely lived on this hill, right? And that's why John goes on, and God and Jesus because it's right here. He's feeling it. He can't quite understand it, but he feels it, and he's trying to get right with Jesus, and he's doing the best he can. Is all I can say, and I'm here to give him a hand, right? So, December he spent more money on electricity to heat this place than he did all last winter. When you're here, you're close to me, and I said, let me just come and show you how we are going to just use the wood stove, and your electric bill will go down by 90%. And I don't think the winter is going to be that. It can't be that cold. But Christmas, where I was in the deep green, not only was it ridiculously cold, like minus 60 degrees, right? 60 degrees below Fahrenheit, where water freezes. That was the temperature. And Christmas Eve evening and Christmas Day, we had winds. We had a wind chill of 120 degrees below zero, right? And people are going about global warming, blah, blah, blah. Go read the book and watch the movie The Day After Tomorrow. That was written by Whitley Strieber and Art Bell. And they peg it right. First things get really toasty, which kind of freaks out the weather, and then everything changes from Goldilocks to a frozen golf ball. And that's, and you can handle things toasty, just drink a little bit more water, stay in the shade. But when things, the average daytime is like minus 30 degrees, and at night it's minus 80, you're not going to live too long unless you're way underground. And that's why Mr. Elon Musk, poster boy, he didn't buy it, but he bought up the U.S. Air Force's technology to dig underground facilities, what are known as DUMBs, deep underground military bases. And I worked on a number of those in New Mexico during 72 and 73, right? And so they have, the United States has enough to put 1 million people underground, right? and to grow food and have oxygen and power and all of that. And they have, Tesla's 0 point energy down there. They don't have they're not burning oil. And the other thing that Tesla and a few other people discovered, the oil companies, where did they figure out about fracking? Well, back in the 1890s, guys realized that they were, drilling holes in the ground for oil. And what they were finding was in that oil was water. And if they drilled past the oil, they would get water. And that's what Mr. Gaddafi did in Libya. Libya was a garden paradise. Libya dug these deep wells for water and brought it up and irrigated all of the desert. And they were making more money selling vegetables to Europe than oil, right? And that's why he could, not have to take American dollars for oil. And so that's why they got, and, I went to Libya in the 70s, and I went to Syria and Iraq in the 70s when I lived in Sweden, because Sweden was a neutral place, and Swedish people could go any place. And I was there, and I had a Swedish driver's license, so it looked just like a passport. So I would, I would have, and in Sweden, the Swedish government sends the people on vacation. So I just signed up for that and went to those countries, right? And the Swedish government got me what do they call those things when you go to a country? They give you, a visa, So, when I would go there and they'd look at me, but I'd have this thing that looked like a Swedish passport, but it was a driver's license, and I had the visa, and I was with this tourist group of all these old Swedes, and I said, I guess this guy's just weird. And they'd stamp it, and I would, so that's how I got to go to Syria and to Libya and Lebanon and to Iran and Kuwait and Iraq. And I saw these countries. Of course, they were, dictatorships, but so was our country, And at least those guys put everyone through school for free, gave everyone a house for free, gave everyone a job and fed them, right? And gave them health care for free. And their system was working fine until the U.S. Air Force bombed the shit out of all of them, right? So if we were going on about Russia going into Ukraine, and we, there was no reason for us to go into Iraq or Libya, period, or Syria, or start, the Arab Spring. So all that we're experiencing right now in the last 3 years is, blowback from all of that, right? And as I was describing my apprenticeship as a IBEW Local 3 electrician, I worked on the World Trade Center in 1967. And, it was 1968 too. That building was designed to be able to take two 707s flying into it at the same time, right? And the 707 was a much heavier, sturdier aircraft than the 767. 767 was basically a thermos bottle with wings on it, right? And in reality, that aircraft did not get inside the building. And even if it did and spilt half of its tank of JP3, jet fuel, it's like, diesel fuel. And it burns at 300 degrees. Steel melts at, 1,200 degrees, right? No. And if you go and look on YouTube, the video of the building collapsing, it came down as a waterfall of dust. If you want to know what really happened, go read a treatise book that was published by, it's called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. The U.S. government didn't want to, they just wanted to move on. You know, a thing like that, that was a crime scene. You know, they started clearing out the crime scene, you know, 2 hours after the building fell down into the basement. They already had the trucks lined to start taking the shit out, you know, and sending it to China that they turned into, you know, Coke cans. So, you know, all I can say is you have to, we are put on this earth to be the decider. Do not listen. Like I said, don't believe a word I say. Don't believe a word anyone says. And don't believe in anything. What you need is faith. Faith and love's co-creation. That's it. Not some religious dogma, you know? No. Now, I read the Bible all the time. It's a good book, right? It is has great knowledge in it, but you have to decide it, right? You don't just take it on belief, right? So, what else can I say? Well, I'm here, and I'll probably be here for a few weeks, right? And you know, and I'm going to do my best to help John get himself to a place where he can be happy, and he can be, you know, he has these great gifts that the universe and God's love and Jesus' forgiveness has given, but he needs to, you know, start, you know, being the decider, you know, and he did really well today in that he didn't drink any coffee. So when I got here, he wasn't like and you know, and we talked, and you know, and I'm going to keep talking to him, and I'm going to keep helping him, and I'm going to keep helping him manifest what he wants his life to be, because he's in a position where he can do that. And he's really talented. He has a lot of talent. You know, he just has to work it out, right? So anyway, that's it. I don't know what time it is. It's been about 40 minutes of me doing this. There's about 3 of you there. Anybody wants to put something in the old PayPal, I would truly appreciate it, right? And that's the dudewake42@gmail, dudewake42@gmail. Anybody wants a reading, you know, their palms, just, you know, take a picture of your palm like that, like about that, and this side of your palm, and send it to me at dudewake42@gmail, dudewake42@gmail, and I will get back to you on your email and give you a insight on who and what you are. Okay? So I love you guys. I'll try and do one in the morning tomorrow, and because I have access to the old internet here. So, okay? Okay, I love you guys. You stay well. Let's see, are you sure?